Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, a place where you and I can come together and I can share with you all of the progress that I have made with my writing over the previous week. Since this is my first posted video, basically I wanted to just kind of touch base with you guys, throw a little bit of information about myself out there, as well as talk about my books and let you know of something that I have coming up later in the year for you. Before we get started, I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Karen Thomas, as the title shows. I am an author. Wrote my first novel, debuted in 2014. Took me 4 years to complete, and a lot of that has to do with the fear of it. It's a very, very scary thing, hitting that publish button for the first time, and I'm sure the second time and the third time. So yeah, that's me. I'm originally from Orlando. I moved to Nashville in 2009 and was there for about 5 years. Fell in love with the city. Still am in love with Nashville, even though unfortunately I don't live there anymore. But Nashville will always have a huge, huge chunk of my heart. And because of that, the city is featured in my novels. That is home base for my characters, and very well may be for quite some time. So that's me. I'm married. I have 2 teenage sons, a dog that will on occasion bark really, really high pitched and loudly. So if you hear that, that's Elsa. And if she decides to jump into my lap, because she's demanding that way, you may get to meet her. So yeah, I've been started writing in 2010, and first book, Whirlwind, which I have here, published in 2014. She is a beast of a book. She's over 550 pages. A lot of story in this book. It is a romance novel. For those of you who like sexy, it's in here. For those of you who like story, to actually get to know the people, that's in here. I personally feel as though the characters in this book, not just the primary characters, but the secondary and tertiary characters, are very well developed. I think. I hope you agree. I've been told this, so I know that there are others out there that agree with me. I hope you do too. Yeah, this was my baby. This took 4 years of my life away from my kids, my husband, food, if you can believe it. I would come home from work and not even bother with dinner. I was like, nope, I'm not hungry. I have to write. I have to write. I have to write. Because these voices never left my head, ever. They'd have constant conversations. You have to be psychotic to be an author. It's just, you're called psychotic when you don't write down the stories. But if you're writing down the stories, then you're an author. So that's how it goes. And every other author out there will agree with me, I'm sure, that you do feel kind of crazy, because sometimes when you want your characters to leave you alone, they won't. And when you want them to talk to you, they don't. So, gotta go with the flow. So this is Whirlwind. It is on sale right now for $2.99 through Amazon, Smashwords, and also Barnes & Noble. So if you'd like to purchase an ebook of Whirlwind, you can go to those formats and purchase it for $2.99. I'm going to go ahead and read to you the prologue of this, as well as the blurb that's on the back cover, just to kind of give you a little insight into the story. Hopefully you'll like it, and if you do, again, feel free to go ahead and buy the book, because that's what it's there for. All right, prologue to Whirlwind. Have you ever had a dream so surreal and yet so real that even though your subconscious knew it was a dream, it was still the most frightening thing you'd ever experience? I have, and it's the same dream all the time. I was there, but I wasn't there. I mean, the vantage point was all wrong. I was 20 when my mother died, but in this I had the point of view of a small child. Sitting in the back seat of my parents' '87 Bronco, I watched them. I squirmed as a lot of small children do when they're uncomfortable. The feeling of the hard bulge from the center console pushing into my spine had always been irritating. It was an average day. My parents were driving home from Fast Track Farms, the racing stables they owned. My father was smiling at times and shouting at others with a faceless someone on the other end of the line. My mother looked irritated for his being on the phone in the first place, and she kept her gaze out the window. It was like I wasn't there. They didn't acknowledge me at all, which was completely out of character for them. Usually we'd talk about the writing lesson I just had, but on this day, they were oblivious to my presence. It was like I wasn't there. Actually, I wasn't. I hadn't been. Like I said, the vantage point was all wrong. But then again, every time I thought of my parents, saw them through a child's eyes. Slow motion kicks in. The car jostles right and then left. During this, I don't feel any of the movement. I only see the way their heads react to the sudden jars. End over end, the car tumbles and flips like cartwheels down the interstate. The windshield cracks, then shatters. Now I stand next to the deformed vehicle, mangled metal, and with it the unrecognizable bodies of my parents. Dad survived, barely, but Mom wasn't that lucky. 9 hours was all she had left in her, and my father would never forgive himself. He wallowed in his sadness and guilt, and his depression won out in the end. 3 months was all he could bear without her. His death was declared an accident, and I prayed that it was true, but knowing my dad like I did, I knew it was the heartache and utter self-loathing that caused him to do it. He simply loved her too much to live without her. The instant I was told of my father's death was a defining moment for me. It was the instant my life's credo changed completely. So that is the prologue to Whirlwind. It gives a little bit of insight into the mindset of our main character, Molly Ryan. So I'll go ahead and read the blurb on the back of the book so you can get an idea as far as what the overall story about these characters are. From the moment Nashville's Dr. Molly Ryan and Hollywood's newest British import, Richard T. Vaughan's eyes meet, it's lust at first sight. A shared instant was all it took. It was a look and a benign touch mixed with racing heartbeats and an urge to consume. And because the fleeting moment was a force of unparalleled desire, it's a point in time neither will ever forget. After weeks of yearning and abstinence, neither can resist the other. And after one incredibly sensual night, when emotions and desires raged and were let loose in a whirlwind of incomparable passion, Richard is forced to return to London with no idea when he'll return. Though they struggle against lies, fear, distance, and a shared tragedy, which will haunt them for the rest of their lives, Molly and Richard fight to find if their love remains. However, nothing is easy. Will they give up? Will they move on? Or will they give in to the whirlwind? That is the blurb about Whirlwind. And again, if you are interested in a really juicy read, something that you know you're going to really be able to spend time on, because this is not a fast read. This is a beast of a book. So it's going to take some time unless you're a super speed reader, which would impress me. Excuse me. Yeah, if you want a really juicy read, then by all means, feel free to go pick this up. $2.99 through Amazon, Smashwords, and Barnes & Noble. So on to my current project right now. Currently working on a novel entitled Curtis, which is the first book in the Miss You Madly series. As of right now, I plan the series to have 2 books. First one again is Curtis. Second one is to be titled Ruby. Curtis is complicated. He is a special agent with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation in Nashville. He is currently working on a murder investigation, while simultaneously trying to celebrate his brother's upcoming wedding, while also trying to deal with the fact that the love of his life, childhood sweetheart, and the girl that got away, Ruby Madly, has now returned and is back in town, also for the wedding. This is ultimately a love story between Curtis and Ruby. However, there is a lot of bitterness, anger, vindictiveness, a little bit of madness on both of their parts. There are some twists and turns in this story. Curtis and Ruby's dynamic had always been very dominant submissive, but in a way that I think makes the reader understand that that's kind of how they were born to be. I mean, these two were definitely made for each other. This is not a billionaire dominant forcing or surprising. I'm not going to use the word forcing, just forget I said that. Surprising some schoolgirl virgin into a life of BDSM. That is not what this is about. This is about two very willing participants who grew up together and whose relationship blossomed together as friends and then lovers, and then into this more dominant submissive roles that they belong in, for lack of another term. It's who they are. These aren't roles for them. This is just who they are as people, and more so, this is just who they are together. They fit. Again, this is my perspective, and I hope that it definitely comes across when you guys read the story, that this is how you see them. So that being said, yeah, Curtis is very complicated. He's got a lot going on his plate at the beginning of the story, a lot going on his plate, and he's having a hard time dealing with it. Physically and emotionally, psychologically, it's kind of eating him up inside. He doesn't know whether or not just, to, I don't know, just tell Ruby that he's still in love with her, or if he's going to, tell her, to F off and I never want to see you again. There's a lot of what ifs in this story, a lot of what ifs, and he's demanding answers. Ruby arrives back into town, and she doesn't want to offer an explanation as to why she was gone so long. She was supposed to be gone 1 year. They agreed on her being away for 1 year while she pursued her dream of dance. That was it. And then she was going to come home, they were going to get married and have a family and live happily ever after. It's what they had always wanted. This is what they had always talked about. It's what they agreed upon. They were engaged. They were planning a life together. Then the opportunity for Ruby to dance professionally came up, and she couldn't turn it down. And Curtis didn't want her to. He was all for it. But he also wanted the life that they had always said they were going to have. So they agreed to a year apart. And that year apart turned into several years apart. And Ruby broke Curtis's heart. And he didn't know why. There was really no explanation. And with her return, he demands that. He demands to know why. He demands an answer. And it's her reluctance and kind of flat out just refusal to give him an answer that I think stirs the pot and really kind of makes the reader hopefully question, why isn't she just saying, this is what happened, or this is why? There's a reason behind why she doesn't want to talk about it, and you'll find out a little bit of that answer at the end of Curtis, but more so in Ruby, the sequel. You'll find out more answers to all of Curtis's questions in the second book. But the first book, Curtis's book, will delve into his emotions concerning Ruby's return, as well as some of his professional struggles with this new murder investigation that's going on during his time away from the Bureau, because he's taking some time off to spend with family because his brother's getting married. So a lot of the struggles are going on for Curtis. I hope it's a good read. It is a very sexy read. There's a lot more sex in this book than there was in Whirlwind. Again, like I said, Whirlwind, it's story. There's a lot of story in Whirlwind, and there are about 3 or 4 really juicy, good sex scenes, whereas Curtis has, I think, still a lot of story in there, but there's more sex than there is story. And I think that just has to do with the dynamic of Curtis and Ruby as a whole. It's just them. It's not, I don't write sex, because honestly, once you've read maybe 5 to 10 sex scenes, they all kind of blend together and they all kind of seem the same. Regardless of the genre, regardless of whether or not there's any BDSM involved, or whether or not it's, you know, straight missionary all the time. I mean, it's sex is sex. And yeah, there's only so much you can do with it when you're writing it on the page. So that being said, there's a lot of story involved, but because of the two characters' dynamic with each other, there is more sex in this story than there was in my previous, and there probably will be also in Ruby, to be honest. But yeah, for the most part, I don't write all about sex. I write a story. What I like to do as a writer is kind of take different traits from the people that I know. It can be from anyone. So anyone who's actually met me and knows me a bit, if you read one of my novels and you read about a trait or a personality or a tick or just something that maybe you used to say and was kind of a catchphrase, and then you read it in a story of mine, you inspired me. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, and I hope no one gets offended about that, but I do like to pull from life, and I think that that makes my characters more believable. It makes them more human, and in that way, readers can relate to that. And I think it makes you feel as though, well, it makes you feel. And ultimately, that is what I want to do as an author. I want to evoke emotion from my readers. If I've written a sad scene, I want the reader to grab a tissue. If I've written a happy scene or a funny scene, I want the reader to laugh. I want my readers to be that person that's reading a book, and when they're reading a silly scene, have this huge grin on their face and have all the people around them trying to figure out why are they smiling so much. They're just reading a book. I want to bring that out in people. I want to evoke emotion, and if I've done that in the past, yay. If I do it in the future, yay. Yeah, that's my job, and I hope I'm doing it well. So yeah, that's what's going on with Curtis. Hopefully it will release soon. I do not have a release date yet. I'm in the process of trying to finish it. I have 1 to 2 chapters left, hopefully. Cross fingers, that is in fact the case. And then once I get that finished and edited, and I have the cover completed, I'll go ahead and do the reveals, and I'll list all the information for the cover reveal, the blog tours, or release party, anything involving the reveal of the launch of the book. I'll go ahead and promote all of that on here, as well as Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and maybe even my Tumblr. So all of that will be offered to you in hopefully the near future. Now these videos I'll post once a week, either on Friday or Saturdays. I'm not exactly sure when. I do have a lot going on in my day, not just the writing. I do also have a 9 to 5 that holds precedent. Unfortunately, it takes up quite a bit of my time. But yeah, that is the priority over and above everything. So I must get that part done first. The writing does come second. but the writing is very, very important. So I will make sure that I have information to you guys on a weekly basis. Just keep checking the channel and see when the new downloads hit. Let's see what else. Later in the year, it's either September 16th or the 17th, there is a book signing in Nashville. It's called Authors at the Opry, taking place at the Opryland Hotel. I will be attending that event as of now. Hopefully my plans won't change, but as of right now I will be attending this event. Anyone who's purchased Whirlwind, anyone who would like to purchase Whirlwind or Curtis, feel free to come on out and see me during this event. I'd be happier than you know to have anybody come and see me. I know I'm a new author. I know I'm not well known, but if anyone would come out and see me, I know I'm not, I'm not begging, but come and see me. I'd like to meet you. And I'll sign your books, and there will probably be some extra swag there. So yeah, it's going to be a fun event, I think. I hope it'll be a fun event. And it'll allow me to get back to Nashville, which I'm really looking forward to a lot. So that being said, aside from that, there will be another post next week. I will go ahead and put out smaller videos through Twitter and Facebook, letting you know when the next YouTube video is up. So that way you guys will know in case you forget to check the channel. Leave any comments that you'd like in the comments below. If you like the information that I'm offering, if you want to see more of it, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe. The subscriptions are free. And again, thumbs up if you like the video. Now, if there's something else that you would rather me do, or any tips or things that you didn't like about this video, or tips you want to offer me, feel free to do that as well. I just ask that you don't be nasty in your comments. If you have anything negative to say, all I ask is that you are constructive. That way I can learn, I can grow, we can grow together, and ultimately I can give you what you want as a viewer, because that is what I am here for. Aside from that, guys, I hope you have a really great night. I hope you have a great upcoming week. Thank you for your time. I know this has been a really long video, but I felt as though I had to really kind of share my information with you about myself and about my work. Videos in the future may not necessarily be this long, but we'll see. It'll depend on what I have going on. Again, thank you so much for stopping by. Feel free to subscribe and to like the video, and I look forward to your comments. You guys have a great night and take care.